Let's stand as we prepare to open our service with prayer this morning. Our prayer champion, Reverend Shauna, will lead us in prayer.
Good morning, beautiful people. Good morning. Let's close our eyes and let's breathe in hope and breathe out harmony. Let's breathe in the love that is inside us right here and right now. That feeling is God. I recognize former thoughts. There is only God and only good. It is within us, above us, around us, and under us. It lives in us, and it lives in you, and it lives in me. There is no separation in God. God is, we are one with God, and the divine in me acknowledges the divine in you. As I embrace my God presence, I embrace that our hearts are compassionately connected to all life, human, animal, environmental, inanimate, and invisible. I know that God works through me. I am a vital instrument of the healing activity of God in the world. I know that I am divine and you are divine, imbued with divinity, unlimited love, unlimited wisdom, and unlimited power. We are here today, in person, online, and streaming throughout the week, open and receptive to a higher consciousness. We fill our bodies with the music that ignites the joy that is our birthright. We feel at one with the universe in the meditation. We are open and ready in this coming week, that our minds are changed and that our circumstances have definitely changed. And we are ready to celebrate and receive more good. Today I declare that we rejoice because this prayer has already been answered. We rejoice because we are praying from the realm of the answer. We rejoice because we are working with the law. Therefore, I release this word into that divine law that already knows what to do and how to do it, and declare that it is already done. So it is with total joy, expectation, and acceptance that
We celebrate being right here, right now, in the present moment. The past is gone, the future is yet to come, and we are here now. Yes, yes. I can feel my feet on the ground. I'm in the present moment now. What a joyful place I found. Here in the present moment now. More love and joy. Celebrate with me now. We are in the present moment now. Oh, we are. We are here now. Now let's just take a breath. We sing, I breathe in, I breathe out. I'm in the present moment now. This is the easiest way to return to the present moment. Putting your hand on your heart, taking a deep breath in and say, I am here now. Here in the present, problems seem so small. Here in the present, all my giants fall. Here in the present, problems seem so small. Oh, here in the present, all my giants. Oh, we are living the power of now.
y'all doing? How are you feeling? Ooh, how are you being? Are you being this love presence that we speak of? Are you being this truth that we speak of? Are you being this sound that we hear? Hey, Frank. Good morning. I'm Pastor Yolanda. On behalf of myself and Pastor Greg, welcome to Celebration Spiritual Center, where we celebrate the magnificence of God, whatever you call God. In you, as you, all around you, there is nothing but God, and it is good. It sits right where you sit. It breathes right where you breathe. Oh, that's so good news. It didn't skip over you and land on your neighbor. This loving presence, this unconditional love is not this man in the sky. It is energy. It is life force. And it is unconditionally loving you right where you are. It's not keeping a list. It's not Santa Claus, okay? It's not keeping a naughty and a nice list. A sinner and a sinless list. And that's how you remain. Perfect, whole, and complete, and sinless. Take that in. Breathe that in. Walk out of here with that. Greet the people on the street telling them, you know you're sinless, right? We celebrate this way because we know the truth of you. We hold the truth of you. And guess what? If you're holding a list of mistakes, why don't you go ahead and let it go now? God's not doing it. We're not doing it. So why are you? At CSC, we believe that everything is spiritual, and that would include your smart devices. So what I need you to do is spiritualize your cell phones. What does that mean, Pastor Yolanda? That means I want you to put it on vibrate. But if something moves you, put it out there on Facebook and Twitter. Let people know where you are, not just where you joined. So you received our welcome packet, and it included one of these blue connection cards. Please turn it over, fill it out, and drop it in with your offering. We want to put you on our mailing list. 7 years of reminding you of the truth, 7 years of celebrating you, and you want to know what's coming because it's going to be a good year. So make sure you fill that out. When we were in the process of saying yes, PG and I, we said we wanted to create a place that felt so good it would feel like home. And so when you come to this place the first time, you are never a visitor. That is too stuffy. You're a guest, if anything. The first time you come, you're a guest, and when you come back, you're family. Right? Yes. First time you come, you're a guest, and when you come back, you're family. So if we have any first-time guests, just stand briefly so we can acknowledge you. First-time guests. Thank you for being here. And remember, first time you come to CSC, you're a what? Yes. And when you come back, you're what? Family. All right, let's all stand and be each other like family. We are a family, like a giant tree, branching out towards the sky. We are a family, we are so much more than just you and I. We are a family, like a giant tree, growing stronger, growing wiser. We are growing We are a
Yes. We are one big, beautiful, happy family celebrating life and celebrating love. We are grateful to have two folks back after having surgery. David Sosa is back. And Frank is back. So much love. So I thought, normally this is a time, of course, a time when we sing, but we try to take an idea, a spiritual idea or an affirmation, and we set it to music, because when you set it to music, it sticks to your ribs. It sticks, and you find yourself humming it and singing it. And I thought this song would be appropriate given where we are in our series and what we're going to be talking about today in the sermon. And so this song simply says, "It's all for my good." It's really based on this idea. I wrote it, I was inspired to Jing. And loud says I'm ahead, sometimes I'm behind. But what we understand is that no matter what state or place we are in life, in truth, all things are working for our good. Or as we read in the Star translation of the Tao, all of life is a movement toward our perfection, toward our wholeness. And so that's always the truth, no matter what state we're in. It's like inhaling and exhaling. And so, inspired by that, we put this song together, "For My Good." God is reminding me that it's all for my good. It's all for my good. It's for my good. For my good. It's just so good, y'all. Good. Just put your hands together. This is a spiritual idea that can change. When you start to call those things that seem to be good things, that are not obstacles, can be turned into a power thing. It's for my good. I know. This situation is about to change in my life. This situation is gonna change right now. I know.
CSC is that our vision, mission, and purpose guide everything we do. Whew. The vision. Celebration Spiritual Center is a God experience that turns on the heart, mind, and soul of the world. A God experience is the realization of oneness that transcends material sense. Mission and purpose. To awaken the world to the presence of God within and all around us. To celebrate this truth as one family. To embody unconditional love. To equip humanity to live our greatest lives. And to serve all creation. The centering thought for this month's meditation is God's peace and joy are mine. And the song for the month is In the Peace of God. We conclude the February message series, You Better Work, Truth Principles for Successful Living, Part 2. Pastor Greg's topic today is Be Water, My Friend. It's time for your CFC News and Updates. This is the final Sunday to pick up your giving statements. Thank you for the financial contributions given to CSC in 2019. If you're a CSC member or have contributed at least $250 last year, please stop by the host table and pick them up today. Join Pastor Greg and Pastor Yolanda next Sunday, March 1st at 1 p.m. for CSC's annual meeting, Mission 90. This meeting will be an opportunity for the pastors to share with active members progress we've made over the past year and where we're headed in the year to come. Save the date. Celebrate CSC's 7th anniversary. Woo! Yes, we've got so many reasons to celebrate. Join us on Sunday, March 29th for our 7th anniversary service. We encourage you to invite your friends and family to celebrate this magnificent milestone. More details to follow. Text to give is fast, easy, and secure. Text your dollar amount to 347-744-9500. Then follow the prompts. Minimum donation is $10. Again, that is 347-744-9500. It's really easy, really. Just a few housekeeping reminders. Food and drink is not allowed in the sanctuary except for water. However, please make sure that your beverage is covered. Also, no audio or video recording is permitted during the service. And now we have an announcement from Pastor Greg and Pastor Yolanda. But before that, thanks again for celebrating with us, and I will see you guys next week.
Give Brittany a hand. That was her first. She was awesome. Great addition to the team.
Yes. So, as you just heard, we are moving quickly into March, which is our anniversary. And so we have a couple things. This was Art CSC services that go to the store option, colors and designs. If you want tie-dye, if you want a hoodie, if you want a jacket, whatever it is, get your I Heart CSC shirt or gear. And we're all going to represent on that Sunday, which is the last Sunday of the month, with our I Heart CSC t-shirts, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing,
we heart our volunteers. Something different this year in time with the anniversary. We want to show our volunteers, all of our volunteers, whether you are our guest services coordinators or ushers or hosts or greeters, that we love you and we appreciate you. So we're going to have a Team Celebrate appreciation party.
Yes. Pizza party and game night.
Pizza party and game night. It's going to be a blast, y'all. It's going to be a lot of fun. It will be on that Friday, which is the
27th. Volunteer
at CSC. You will receive an email from people are coming, and so that we know if you have any dietary restrictions, we'll know, okay? So as soon as that email goes out, make sure if you love, and we'll see you for that beautiful, fun-filled night of appreciation for you all, because we love you. And there's still more stuff. 7 years, thank you, babe, of contemplating your connection to Source. 7 years. This month, as Brittany shared, our centering thought for meditation is God's joy and peace our mind. Many times when we look out into the external world, we see everything that's wrong, and I get it, because I can go there too. And we forget some fundamental truth that no matter where we are, we have access to this peace and joy because we came to the planet with it. It wasn't something that was bestowed upon us when we were good. We came here with it. It wasn't something that we had to do a whole bunch. As we like to talk and teach, first there was a thought in the mind of this energy. And you're the result of that. And each of you did. You came here with all the creative potential that you ever were going to have. You came here with all the goodness that you could ever demonstrate. And you came here with all the joy and the peace that was given to you at birth. And so many times we don't feel that. We don't feel this connection to God, whatever you call God, because our focus is elsewhere. Today we're going to bring our focus inward to that reservoir of peace and joy that are ours, to that knowingness that never leaves us, even when we don't see it. As I like to say, if you can breathe, you can meditate. And it's more to experience God than to read about God. Many of us have read all the books, but we didn't realize that God is as close as our breath, and nothing else is required but the breath. And so today we get to practice experiencing God for ourselves with each breath. So let's do that now. Go ahead and close your eyes. And if you're holding anything on your lap, release it now. And allow your back to rest against the chair. And with the eyes closed, we bring the focus inward, where we notice the breath. No effort to influence it, just notice it. Whether it is deep or shallow, God is there. And from this place, this vantage point of observation, we notice and bring our focus to our feet. The feet that connect us to the floor. But more importantly, to the ground of all being. Felt at the core of the earth and beyond. And with all this power beneath our feet, we relax our toes, our heels. And we wade in the pool of power and peace and joy. And now in our mind's eye, we feel this energy that is collected beneath our feet, making its journey up the ankles. Relax the ankles and make room. Energy Energy now flows up the shins and calves. Relax the shins and the calves. This energy warms us, relaxes us, and flows across the knees. Relax the knees. Energy now flows across the thighs. Relax. Surrender the thighs to the chair, to the floor beneath, to the ground of all being. Energy now flows across, making its way to our hips. We relax the hips. The very seat of our joy, we relax. Energy pulls at the base of our spine, activating. The subtle body begins to open, each chakra available right here and right now. Energy flows up the spine, Kundalini rising, activating and spinning each chakra, going across our heart. Our throat opens and relaxes. Third eye opens, and the crown surrenders and opens. And this energy pulls, gathers above us, all. And now from a place of openness and receptivity, we allow the energy to flow back down through the crown, across our shoulders. They relax, down our arms and out our fingertips. A completely open channel for love and joy and peace to flow. That's how we see ourselves. And now bring your focus to the right side of your body. As we begin to breathe together, inhale up the right side and exhale down the left side. Inhale up the left side. Exhale down the right. Inhale up the right. Exhale down the left. Inhale up the left. Exhale down the right. A few rounds of breath on your own. Feeling it moving from side to side, holding you, rocking you in God's joy and peace. Last time. Now bring that energy full front and center into the low belly. Open the mouth and release. This time, close the lips, exhale through the nose. This is how we will breathe, in and out through the nose. As we affirm this truth of resting in God and peace and joy, you just breathe and allow. In the peace of God, eyes closed.
Teach me to rest in the unknown, remembering that your hand I hold. How can I ever be alone in the peace of God? Words sometimes fail me, but I know in the silence I am home. How can I ever be alone in the peace of God?
Just rest.
Teach me to rest in the unknown, remembering that your hand I hold. How can I ever be alone in the peace of God?
The words fail.
Words sometimes fail me, but I know in the silence I am home. How can I ever be alone in the peace of God?
As you prepare for our assignment, if there's anywhere that you're holding on, send breath there. We will monitor the time. You just take that inward journey. Let every voice but the voice of love, let it be still. Now. With our eyes still closed, this time we gave ourselves. Words or no words can describe the peace that is ours whenever we need it. Remember that this week as you go out, that you rest in the peace of God, that your joy is there as well. Allow this musical container to hold you today and as we move forward in the peace of God. Rest in Him. Let it sustain you. fingertips. Honor from the top again.
In the peace.
Slowly flutter the eyes open, making it a point on the floor.
In the peace.
Inhale, raise the chin, raise the gaze.
In the peace.
Namaste.
In the peace of God.
On a daily basis, we're mindful of what we're minding. That we're mindful of where we're putting the focus of our attention. And so this song is a celebration and a reminder to keep our mind on certain things. I keep my mind on things that create life. I keep my mind on things that make me come alive. To echo the powerful words from what makes you come alive? Because that's what the world needs. The world needs for you to do the thing that makes you come alive. Because when my mind is right, my life is right. I don't have to fight, I just stay aligned. When my mind is right, my life is right. So what do? I keep my mind on those things that are lovely and has a good report. I keep my mind. What are you thinking about and what are you focusing on? A choice and a decision that you can make today to keep your mind on those things that are lovely, those things that are pure, those things that are of good report, those things that are joyous and joyful, those things that create life. Sopranos, can you tell us about it? I keep my mind.
Keep my mind on what is right. Things that give me life.
I keep my mind.
Keep my mind on what is right.
Things that give me life.
Things that give me life.
Alright, so can you join in? Hey, keep my mind.
Keep my mind on what is right. Keep my mind.
Choose to give me
Thank you, Soul 21. Thank you, CS. And so this song actually supports us directly in what we're going to be. Many of you know we are in the second part of our three-part series, Working with the Law, using the book Working with the Law by Dr. Raymond Hollowell. And in the second part of the series, we've been looking at, in week 1, we looked at the law of receiving. In week 2, the law of increase. In week 3, last week, the law. And so this week, we're going to be looking at the law of non-resistance. Something that we talk about. I'm going to take you, I think many of you know, if you're from the topic, you may know what I was referencing, but we're going to go to the Gospel of Bruce Lee today. And in 1971, Bruce Lee gave an interview. It's on a short-lived TV show called Longstreet. And this is something, you can find this on YouTube. It's everywhere. People share it all the time, and there are lots of memes. But this was the only interview where he sort of crystallized the heart of his teachings, the heart of what he taught his students in Kung Fu. And he said this: "Be like water, making its way through cracks. Do not be assertive, but adjust to the object, and you shall find a way around or through it. If nothing within you stays rigid, outward things will disclose themselves. Empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. If you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water in a bottle and it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend." And this philosophy is a philosophy that's rooted in an awakening experience that Bruce Lee had as a martial arts student. And at the time, this wasn't clear, but we have, and it's been published, a lot of his writings, his personal writings and his poetry and letters that he's written. And he talks about this moment of awakening that he had when he finally understood this idea of be water, my friend. And he writes, "After spending many hours meditating and practicing, I gave up and went sailing alone. On the sea, I thought of all my past training and got mad at myself and punched the water. Right then, at that moment, a thought suddenly struck me. Was not this water the very essence of Kung Fu? Hadn't this water just now illustrated to me the principle of Kung Fu? I struck it, but it did not suffer hurt. Again, I struck it with all my might, yet not wounded. I then tried to grasp a handful of it, but this was proved impossible. This water, the softest substance in the world, which could be contained in the smallest jar, only seemed weak. In reality, it could penetrate the hardest substance of the world. That was it. I wanted to be like the nature of water." And here he was crystallizing for himself, explaining the moment that he had out on the water after a moment of frustration, as his teacher had been trying to teach him this concept and he wasn't getting it. And he kept trying and trying and trying to the point of anger. And his teacher said, "You know what, just go home and stop practicing." And so he went home, and that's where we start here where he says after many hours, he was sent home, and then after many hours of going to go out on the water. And there was where his awakening experience began. Now, again, we've talked about and teach the law of resistance, non-resistance in so many different ways. I invite you to go back to a sermon that I gave last year in the Way of the Master Metaphysician, Welcome Them In, where we were talking about this. We looked at the Tao Te Ching, and we looked at a poem by D.H. Lawrence. And we're going to take it a little step further today, but I invite you to go back to that sermon. Because like all spiritual teachings, this idea, be water, my friend, Bruce Lee any more than it's new to us. His teacher had given him, but a teacher can only lead you to the water. See, each of us must drink it to know it for ourselves. Bruce Lee had read and could probably quote the ancient teachings of Lao Tzu, but the moment he gave up and went out on the boat, that was when he began to embody the teachings. Because you see, this ancient Chinese philosophy, it was rooted in the teachings, Taoist teachings of Lao Tzu. And we read in the Tao Te Ching, verse 8, the best way to live is to be like water. For water benefits all things and goes against none of them. It provides for all people and even cleanses those places a man is loath to go. In this way, it is just like the Tao. Now, verse 78 of the Tao Te Ching takes it even a step further. It says, nothing in this world is as soft and yielding as water. Yet for attacking the hard and strong, none can try so easily. It is weak, yet none can equal it. It is soft, yet none can damage it. It is yielding, yet none can wear it away. Everyone knows that the soft overcomes the hard, and the yielding triumphs over the rigid. Why then so little faith? Why can no one practice it? And so we go to the text that we're studying this month, and for the 3 months for this series, Working with the Law. Raymond Hollowell, in the early 1960s, echoes the same truth that Bruce Lee told us in 71, and that Lao Tzu was echoing in the 6th century. Hollowell writes this: water is very powerful, yet it is a perfect non-resistant element. We can see it where it has worn away the hardest rock. We have seen before its torrential outbreak how the great river begins. It starts with a small stream or brook high up in the mountains where the ice and snow feed it in the springtime. Does the little stream stop with the obstacle and wait for its force to build up so that it can push the opposition from its path? No, as it is in hurrying along and reaching a larger stream, a river, and then the mighty ocean. It does not waste any time with the obstacle, but works its way around the interference and hurries on. It is urged to meet a river and then to be a part of the mighty ocean. Thus, we see that little stream wind its way round and round, many crooks and turns, but every turn takes it nearer its goal. 3 different sources, the same truth. Now, there's something that I love in what I just read. Hollowell says, it does not waste any time with the obstacle. This is the teaching right here. Now, we recognize and we understand as we've been going through the weeks and as we've been talking about the various aspects of the law, we understand that focusing on the obstacle, the problem, or the challenge will never get you the desired result. Now, why do we know that according to what we've been studying? Well, we understand first that we looked at desire and expectation. Desire draws and expectation connects, right? We also talked about this idea that we start with interest in something. Interest leads to attention, which leads to interested attention, which then fosters and boosts our expectation, and then it becomes a circle. As we have more expectation, we become more interested. As we're more interested, we pay more attention. As we pay more attention, we are more expectant of that thing. So if we are focusing on the obstacle, if we are wasting any time with the obstacle, we are misusing the law, because we are putting our attention and our interest and expecting something that we don't want actually to experience in our lives. Yes, yes? Yes. The other thing I think that's interesting is that many times when we are focused on the obstacle, it's because we actually don't have a clear picture of what it is that we want. Because it's interesting here. He writes, it does not waste any time with the obstacle, but quietly works its way around interference and hurries on. It is urged to meet a river and then to be part of the mighty ocean. You see, that little stream has a goal. So the boulder in its way is meaningless. The boulder in its way, it's just going to make its way around it. And so it's very interesting that we must consider that. That if we find ourselves preoccupied with the problem, the challenge, or the situation, or the difficulty, we can ask ourselves, do I even know where the hell I'm going? That might be why you're so focused on the problem. I remember seeing this principle played out. Many of you know that the teacher, Bob Proctor, if you've seen The Secret, you've seen Bob Proctor there, and he's a wonderful teacher. And there's something I heard him say that I didn't understand when I first heard him teach this. He was talking about clearing debt. He said, if you want to get out of debt, that's cool. He said, set up an automatic debt payment system and then go focus on making money. Now, I didn't understand that, but as I have over the years worked with many clients and supported them in getting out of debt, which is very easy to do, I found something interesting. Those who focused on getting out of debt, they cleared their debt, and years later, they got back in deep debt again. Because the focus of their attention was on the problem. Yes, we clear debt. Do something, create a set it and forget it operation or process so that you're not focused on, I'm trying to get out of debt, I'm trying to get out of debt, I'm getting out of debt. Handle that, make sure it's automatic, as automatic as it can possibly be, and then put the focus of your attention on growing your income. Because what did we just say? Interest leads to attention. Attention creates our expectation. Our expectation draws more interest, and we create that flow, and then as we are increasing our income, it becomes easier and faster to pay off the debt. Obstacles in our lives, but we put the focus of our attention on the goal. And so keeping our minds on the goal and on the objective, we read this in the text. If we go through life fighting, opposing, resisting, arguing, we are bound to meet with many obstacles and likely become so occupied fighting them that we lose sight of our real objective. If we are always getting steeled for the next opposition or trouble, we can expect plenty of it. Whereas if we strive to make a little of the obstacle and keep our minds, objective or the desire we set out to gain, we may have to wind around and around, but if we persevere, we will ultimately win. We will reach the goal. And so keeping our minds on the objective, as I talked about many times, we're not even aware of what our objective is. What I know to be true is that I call this collateral imagination. We understand what collateral damage is, yes? In war, there's this thing called collateral damage, that inevitably some other things that were not the intended target are going to be destroyed or harmed. At the worst case, sometimes innocent beings, and something we experience or we actually want to see in our lives or in our world. So the collateral imagination, in order to keep our minds on the objective and we're experiencing the problem, we can ask ourselves, well, what type of world do I want to live in? I've talked about this many times, that one of the tools that I use for myself is headlines I want to see. I'm watching the news and it gets me pissed off. I realize it's because there's something I really want to see. So I have a document that I keep with me. I go back to it and I read it and I add to it. Because I realize if I'm reading something about 45, there's something else I really want to read about related to our president. So what are the headlines I want to see? If I'm reading about student loans and folks going into debt because of student loans, I realize there's something that I want to see. If I'm reading yet another story about how awful our healthcare system is, I realize then that I can write about the headlines that I want to see. If you're in a relationship and things aren't working the way you want them to work, or if you're dating and things ain't flowing the way you want them to flow, what type of partner first do I want to be in relationship? That's the first piece. And then what type of relationship do I want? It's your collateral imagination. It's giving you a clue into what it is that you really want. What type of employment do you desire? What type of employer do you desire to be? I find it very interesting, and it's wonderful. I know we have a host of entrepreneurs in the building, and it's beautiful to be an entrepreneur and have your own business. But one of the things I find that's interesting is we understand how this law works. Many times people choose to become entrepreneurs and talk bad about 9-to-5s. But if you're an entrepreneur, ain't somebody gonna work for you eventually? Think about that for a second. So in the same way, we don't want to become an entrepreneur because I can't stand working for anybody. Because if you develop that energy, and that's the energy by which you choose to start a business, guess how your employees are gonna think about you and feel about you and work with you. This is law, this is principle. So we don't think of in this case, we wouldn't think of our job or our place of employment as an obstacle. We would say, what type of employer do I want to be? What type of environment do I want to create as an employer? What type of benefits do I want to offer as an employer? What vision and what values do I want to exemplify as an employer? Because if you don't have clear answers, indicator to where your focus has been and why the obstacle seems so strong and so overwhelming. So we must define our North Star. That's really what this is. In the same way that the stream has the North Star of the river and has the North Star of the ocean, so we must do. Why do y'all think we read the mission, vision, and purpose every Sunday here at CSC? It's our North Star. And we're clear, PY and I were clear, before we knew most of y'all, before we put the focus of our attention on our North Star, no matter what. We put our attention on our North Star when there was only about $10 in the offering. We put the focus of our North Star even when we weren't seeing that. So then that allowed us to then whine like water does around the obstacles. That allowed us to nooks and crannies. That allowed us to move forward, always moving forward to our desired goal. We're always embodying the how each of you must hold your own personal mission, vision, and purpose. I invite you, if you weren't here for that series or if you haven't seen it, we have 2 different series, MVP, Mission, Vision, and Purpose 1, and MVP, Mission, Vision, and Purpose 2. And all of that is about learning how to craft, create, and embody your own personal mission, vision, and purpose. Right? See, CSC is just a macrocosm of the microcosm of your life. And so in the same way that you see CSC holding that North Star, you must define your North Star for yourself. And so we started, that was very early in our first year, we did that series because we wanted to make sure that we put that down, that folks could tap into that vibration of understanding what it means to have a mission, vision, and purpose, and why it's so important on an individual level. You are your first organization. Each and every one of you are an organization. You're an entity. And if you do not define your mission, Hallowell goes on and he says that resistance leads to friction. And this is what we read. Some people, unwise to nature's methods, set up a different one. When they meet an obstacle, they stop their progress to collect their forces and put up a fight to remove it. This resistance they set up causes friction. Friction causes an irritation and inflammation. For this reason, many people's lives are hard and exacting. The waste of human energy is appalling. People in every walk of life are breaking down and wearing out like obsolete machinery. But remember, it is not the movement of a machine that wears it beyond its use and service. It is friction. Friction is opposition and resistance. And when I read that line, people in every walk of life are breaking down and wearing out, it reminded me of the series we did in October, Well Not Woke. Because that's what this was all about, right? That what we teach and what we embody here is that we want you to be well. Being woke has led people down some pathways that are leading them to be broken down and worn out. It's good to be aware, but if that awareness is leaving you to being broken down and worn out, maybe it's because you're practicing friction. And so it's interesting what we can do to then just shift that, just in the smallest way. I was reminded there's a conversation from an Abraham Hicks workshop. In May of 2003, Abraham said, if you do not meet resistance with resistance, it dissipates dramatically. Say, you're right. You are right. And mean it. In other words, don't mock them. Don't be sarcastic or snarky. You're right. And then watch how all of a sudden their legs almost go right out from under them. They don't have the energy to blast you because you just took the fuel away from them. This is also the power of I'm sorry. You know, we talk about this idea often. Do you want to be right or do you want to be free? Yeah. And that's what a true, sincere apology is really about. Even sometimes when that person did what you think they did, and even if that person was really wrong. Also, I recognize this is rooted in the idea and why we use and teach the work by Byron Katie, the 4 questions of the work. It's rooted in non-resistance, this law of non-resistance. Byron Katie says, when I believe my thoughts, I suffer. To say it another way, when I believe my thoughts, I create friction. Because every thought that we believe is not necessarily true, and every thought that we believe, what we must learn to understand is that belief has everything to do with the meaning that we've placed on the event. The same event can mean 2 different things. I love this example. If your house was on fire and the firefighter, they put the fire out. Yes, yes. Same process, same people, but it would have a different meaning based on what's going on. Now that's a rudimentary example, but we do this all the time. I shared, and I'll make sure we share it on our Facebook page. I shared it on my page. This beautiful article that's talking about some of the latest work that's been done in psychology now. I'm really understanding that our emotions, we put the meaning on our emotions. And so we can change what each emotion actually means, which then changes the outcome of the experiences that we're having in our lives. And so in truth, believing our thoughts is an act of resistance. It's not being like water. Water doesn't resist. Kind of Mouse ice cube trays. The water just becomes Mickey Mouse. It doesn't resist that. It might not feel like being Mickey Mouse today, but it doesn't resist that. It doesn't matter what shape cubes, you can have spheres, you can have more traditional cubes, you can have shaved ice. It doesn't matter. It becomes anything. It does not resist. Be water, my friend. And one of the other things I love, Bruce Lee, and by the way, if you're interested, the book is called Bruce Lee, Artist of Life. And again, it's a collection of his essays and letters and poetry, and really just laying out so much of mind. And one of the other things that happened to him when he's out there on that water, he had an epiphany as it relates to this very thing around emotions. After he had punched the water and had this wonderful awareness, he says, suddenly a bird flew and cast its reflection on the water. Right then, I was absorbing myself with the lesson of the water. Another mystic sense of hidden meaning revealed itself to me. Should not the thoughts and emotions I had when in front of an opponent pass like the reflection of the birds flying over the water? This was exactly what my professor meant by being detached, not being without emotion or feeling, but being one in whom feeling was not sticky or blocked. It's one of the things I love that it embodies right here. We are not teaching or telling you that you should never feel anything. Emotions are good, from anger to joy, from depression to glee. Every emotions are beneficial and they're indicators of what we're thinking. See, this is the thing. Whatever emotion we're feeling, what's the thought that we've been thinking? This is why Byron Katie says, when I believe my thoughts, I suffer. Many times we're living in the suffering and haven't taken a time to look at, what have I been thinking? What is the meaning that I place on this situation that's caused me to suffer? Last point. I'm really almost done. I think that as we are in 2020 and we are in this beautiful election cycle, that the law of resistance is very important for us to understand and embody. And I was reminded of something that Senator Cory Booker would say often when he was on the campaign trail, and he said it from the debate stage, and almost any time he had a chance to be before a mic, he would share this idea that he would say, beating Donald Trump is the floor, not the ceiling. And what he was essentially saying is that Donald Trump and his administration is the obstacle, not the goal. Think about that for a second. If we make beating Donald Trump the thing, and that's our only focus, that's putting our focus on the obstacle, unlike water. So then what's very important for us to understand is that making efforts towards climate change, that's going to happen. Right? If we put the focus of our attention on the goal, that's going to happen. If we persist, it's going to happen. Universal health care is the goal, not defeating Donald Trump. Equal pay is the goal, not defeating Donald Trump. Protecting women's reproductive rights is the goal, not defeating Donald Trump. Criminal justice reform is the goal, not defeating Donald Trump. We're going to be like water, raising the canceling student, defeating Donald Trump and all of them other folk and McConnell, whoever, name anybody you want to name. We can make that the goal, and that's what so many people are doing. I get it. But if we understand how water works, if we understand how nature works, we must shift that. And so in closing, I just want to read 78 from the Tao Te Ching. Nothing in this world is as soft and yielding as water. Yet for attacking the hard and strong, none can triumph so easily. Yet none can equal it. It is yielding, yet none can wear it away. It is soft, yet none can damage it. Everyone knows that the soft overcomes the hard, and the yielding triumphs over the rigid. Why then so little faith? Why can no one practice it? So the sages say, fulfill even the lowest position. Love even the weakest creature. Then you will be called Lord of every offering and King of all below heaven. Be water, my friend. Be water, my friend. With that, we say amen. Ashe. And so it is. So it is. Thank you, God.
Are you making your way to the ocean? Whatever that ocean is for you, are you making your way to it? Or are you obsessed with what you don't have to make your way to the ocean? Are you obsessed with what mama and them said that could keep you from making your way to the ocean? Are you obsessed with what your ex said that you could not have that's preventing you from making your way to the ocean? This series is so powerful to help you move towards the ocean, to be in non-resistance. Why do you think the civil rights movement worked? They had a goal in mind. They still kept their focus on the goal. What is your personal ocean that you're making your way to? Can you go there this week? Can you think about what it is and not what the problem is? Can you write it down? So when something comes up, when a little pebble comes up in your way, you're not thrown off guard. You're like, oh wait, I'm making my way to the ocean. This week, make your way to the ocean.
Make your way to the ocean. All right. In this moment, it is time to prepare for giving. And if anyone needs, if you need a pen or you need a giving envelope, please just raise your hand. Our ushers are happy to serve and support you. I see we have a hand here up front. For those that would like to give online or who have already given online, we thank you. You can go to our website, celebrationsc.org, S as in spiritual, C as in center, 9500. Text your amount and follow the prompts. Now, for our first-time guests here at CSC, we talk about giving in a very specific way. There are many organizations that shame and guilt folks into giving. As your life by operating in this law of circulation. And so when you find your joy number and you give from that place of joy, whether you're placing it in the basket or whether you're giving online, returns to me multiplied in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment.
My treasure doors are opening for me as I give, I receive. So available to me. Thank you. I give my treasure doors are opening for me as I give, I receive. Yes, it's all coming right back to me. I give my love for love available to me. Thank you. I give my treasure doors are opening for me as I give, I receive. Yes, it's all coming right back to me. 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 Coming right back to me.
Hey,
Coming right back to me. 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 Coming right back to me.
let us extend our hands, and through our hands, the very life beat, the life force that is you, Mother, Father God. I'm so grateful that there is a mind, and that mind is the one power, the one presence that is equally available right here and right now. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for the gifts and for the gifts. For we know that as it goes out in joy, it has to come back in joy. As it goes out in enthusiasm and creativity, it has to come back as the same. We stand in anticipation this week for the ways in which you will show up as what we need. We walk in the direction of the ocean and we never turn back. From this place, I release these words and together we say, amen, amen. Ashe. And so it is.
Let's affirm this truth together, y'all. I give my love, more love comes rushing back to me.
My love for love comes rushing back to me. Thank you.
I give my time, more time is available to me. I give my treasure and doors are opening for me. As I give, I receive. It's all coming right back to me. Just as easy as we breathe. Right back to me. Oh, right on back to me. Just as easy as we breathe. Yeah. It's coming right back. It's coming right back. It's coming right back. Right back to me. Oh,
Let's all stand. Let's all stand. I knew this service was going to be on fire. I knew it. I felt it. But I feel that way ever since. Remember.
So as a reminder, please go to the website, check out the I Heart CSC shirts, pick the one that you love, the vibe that represents you, and make sure that you have it. And you're right. People already want it.
Katia just bought hers.
And be prepared to rock it.
Please, we're going to send out the information. Please make sure you RSVP. It's going to be such a fun night.
Yes.
A way in which this whole community loves you, supports you, and celebrates you.
Mm-hmm.
So please make sure you're there.
Yeah. That's it.
That's it. Oh, wow. That's it. This series has been powerful, and next month we will close out part 3.
Yes.
So if you haven't had a chance to get the book yet, get the book and catch up with us.
Yeah.
But if something for you during the course of this message or during the course of service, something that you need support in seeing it differently, something that you need support in becoming non-resistant to, if there's some fear, some doubt, some worry that's showing up, we say here, we don't beg, bargain, or beseech God. There is no oh please, God here. It's God is pleased. That's how we pray, right? And so if something is preventing you from being in that vibration of knowing God is pleased with you, write it down and leave it on the altar in the back of the room. And when you do that, what do we say every Sunday here at CSC?
All things are possible.
Possible now, every little thing is possible.
Now all things are possible. Yes, everything is possible. I know who I am, and I know whose I am. amazing week.